Stepping out, it's Friday night.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Single Mother by Choice. My name is Martine, and today I'm going to catch you up on my 17th and 18th week of pregnancy. Let's get right into it. All right, so around 17 weeks, it was a few days into 17 weeks, I think. I went to Savannah, Georgia with a couple of friends. We did a road trip from New York to Savannah, Georgia, which was long. I mean, it's long to drive there. But we were all kind of on a budget. So we thought like that was the most affordable way to get there. And we did plan also a stop midway-ish. It wasn't quite midway, but we did plan a stop in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, so that we could, just have like a rest night. So we would drive, stop in Richmond and then like have dinner, relax, go to sleep, and then continue our journey. And we did that coming back home as well. So that wasn't bad, but I have to say, like, even though it was still early in my pregnancy, it was quite uncomfortable, even though my friends were really sweet and let me sit in the back seat for like most of the ride down and coming back. It was just, not comfortable because I don't know, I just couldn't find a good position. I tried laying down, just sitting, and just after a while my back was hurting and I couldn't sit for that long. So that's something that really was a bit much. And normally too, even though I have a friend who is, self-admitted sort of hypochondriac, and so she's always very worried when traveling about, long bouts of driving or being on an airplane without getting up and walking around to like help your circulation. So even though we did stop every couple of hours just to like get up and, walk around, I found that by the end of the trip, particularly on the second day, my ankles were just like super swollen. And normally that only happens to me on really long plane rides because I don't like getting up normally during flights. So unless, obviously you need the bathroom or something, but typically I don't get up to just walk around. And even though we did plan stops every few hours, I found that my ankles and my feet just got really swollen. And that stayed basically throughout our trip because we were also sightseeing quite a bit and walking and da-da-da-da. So they just remained swollen. So all the like cute sandals I brought with me couldn't be worn because I just couldn't fit into them, or they just weren't comfortable because they were more flat. They didn't have much of an arch to them, so I ended up in my Converse pretty much the whole time, except for one night I think I wore my sandals out. And along with just bodily changes or discomforts, I also had, I think I told you, I know in the last video I told you that I experienced like a sciatic type nerve, or the sciatic nerve was aggravated by some swelling. I this time was starting to feel pain in my front, not pain actually, it was numbness that would happen if I stood for too long. There would be some numbness that happened in my right thigh, so the top of the thigh all the way down to like almost my knee. If I stood for too long, it would just start to numb. And I learned that's again because the weight that you're starting to gain from being, from being pregnant in the front, in your belly, puts pressure on sometimes on the nerve, which then causes numbness or tingling or, symptoms like that. So throughout the trip, I would also experience that. But if we were walking, it wasn't bad. It's just if I stood for too long. And an exciting part, there are a couple of things that are, that were happening then that were new and exciting. One of them being movement. So I think it was right at 18 weeks or even a little bit before, I started to feel these little flutters. And I thought, and because they were so inconsistent, and it was just like, it would happen one day, one time, one day, and then a few days later it would happen again. just once or twice throughout the day. So initially I thought, oh, am I just bloated? Like we aren't traveling, I'm eating differently. But after a while, I'm like, I think that's the baby. That's the baby moving. So that was really exciting. And actually, I do recall too, back at 16 weeks, I experienced something similar and I thought, oh, I'm just gassy because it only happened the one time and then I didn't feel it again. So I thought, oh, you're just being nuts. And it was so early. It was 16 weeks and it's my first pregnancy. I'm like, you, girl, you crazy. But by 18 weeks, it was happening more regularly and it was definitely not gas. And I'm not a gassy person, but I thought, you're pregnant, maybe you get gassy. But yeah, so those little flutters were the baby. So that was exciting. Another exciting time, but also not contentious. But if you don't know, I do live at home and I'm having this baby partly because my mom did allow me to come back home and like stay with her so I can, plan financially and have like the support emotionally and all of that, which is really great. But now that we're starting to plan the nursery and plan the baby shower, we're just different in how we like our aesthetic. Our aesthetic is just very different. I'm someone who is very like monochromatic. I'm so typical New Yorker where I like my staples in terms of color. I like black, gray, white, denim, like with a splash of color here and there. Every now and then I'll buy something that has some color. Maybe like I have one pink cardigan, or I'll have like, I don't know, like just a green top or something, like a splash of color here and there. But generally, I don't like a big bold patterns, flowers. Like, I'm just not that girl. I'm very typical city New York person in terms of like the color schemes that I go with. And my mom, we're Caribbean. She's very much about like color and patterns. And since I'm a kid, we've had this issue. But now we're really like, seeing it come out again because trying to decide on a crib, the carpet, the color of the room, all of that was just, I think if it were up to my mom, she'd want to like splash color everywhere. Not necessarily like loud colors, but I guess I should tell you that, if you don't know already, I was going to do a big reveal, but I think that I'm going to reveal now the gender of the baby just because it makes sense with the story. So I'm having a girl. Yay! I'm having a baby girl. And so, if it were up to my mom, she would, splash all types of like girly colors all over that room. And for me, that's not me. Like, I don't want to, me, I like clean, modern, just nice. I think it can still look like a child's room without being, I don't want to say gaudy, but I'm going to say gaudy. Without being gaudy. Because to me, I don't want to feel like I am at a daycare with a bunch of like loud things and like very, also, even though I am having a girl, I tend to go towards like, I don't know how to explain it, but I don't like typical baby girl clothes. I really like clothes for girls that look like they could be worn by just people, in general. Like, I like dresses and things like that, obviously, but the pattern or the color, I don't want it to be all pink and purple and like lavender. To me, that's just like, and why? Just because she's a girl, she has to wear pink all day and look like I don't know, Pepto-Bismol threw up on her. So like, it just, to me, that's just like not my thing. I'm trying very hard to find girl clothes that are affordable, that don't look like, she's a Powerpuff Girl or like somebody who just came out of like, I don't know. That's just, I guess I shouldn't say it that way because to some people that's what they like for their themselves or their kids. But for me, that's just so not my aesthetic, and I don't want to put my daughter in just like all these like pink, poofy, girly girl things. I don't know. But my mom does. I think that's more what she thinks is cute, and that's not what I think is cute. I think one or two things like that is fine, but sometimes you look in kids' closets or you go to the store and it's like they all look the same. They all have the same like pattern and colors, and it's like boring. So anyway, whatever. Other story. I'm such a brat. But anyway, so before I left for Savannah, this is becoming rambly, but before I left for Savannah, we finally agreed, even though we have different aesthetic. My mom, I think, I tried to respect her. She tried to respect me because it is her house, and I think that she's entitled to have, obviously, input into what happens, and it's also her one and only grandchild, and I want her to have the experience too of like planning and like just enjoy the experience with me. But again, because we're so different, it's been challenging sometimes to come to an agreement on certain things. So, but before I left for Savannah, we finally agreed on a very neutral color. Like so neutral, it's basically like white. It's like a creamy white, but it's white. And so when I went away, she surprised me and like said, you know what, like we're just like, she and her very like best friend, who's like a mom to me too, is like, you know, we're gonna paint the nursery, because even though it's like a natural paint that we chose, or a paint that's supposed to have 0 VOCs, she's like, while you're away, we're gonna paint, we're gonna aerate the room and the house just so that you're not exposed to whatever. So they did that. And when I came back, of course, because I'm a brat, oh God. This is why I'm worried about having a girl, because she's going to end up like me, and I'm just going to, like, we're going to fight. We're going to argue all the time, because she's going to be a single child like I was and be a brat. Oh boy. Anyway, just pray for me. But anyway, I came home. No one was home yet. I went in and I went to inspect the nursery. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. It's painted. And it was nice. And then I, turned on the light and I started like looking around, and on first sight, everything looked great. And then on second sight, I looked and I saw like, not streaks necessarily, but there were some spots that were missed, especially towards the bottom. You could still see the old color, which was also a neutral color. So I understand, like, while you're painting, sometimes like you don't see that, but when it dries, it comes through. So I was able to see the color of the old paint underneath, which was more like a blushy kind of color. And my mom came home and I was like, did you see the streaks? I'm such a brat. I'm like, did you give it 2 coats? I'm such a freaking brat. And I felt bad. But I also thought, like, if we're going to do this, I don't want to, like, leave it like that. Let's just, like, and I offered to do it, But I did feel really badly that I had to say that, because they worked so hard and they were doing it for me, and doing it to be really kind and, like, and I was just a brat. But I also think, like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. Because at first they were like, but we don't see what you're talking about. And I literally, I'm such a brat. I got on, like, I got low and I'm like, but look, you could see the old color and, like, whatever. So, needless to say, the room got repainted, or just a second coat was added, and now it's perfect. But, yeah, I'm a brat. Anyway, lastly, moving on, but please pray for me with this whole girl situation, because I really thought I was going to have a boy, and I did hope for a boy just because I know how I was as a teenage girl, and I work at an all-girls school where they're lovely young women, but also like the hormones, we've all been through it. Hormonally, girls can go through about from maybe 11 to about 17 or 18, you're kind of living in a emotional roller coaster. And I was a nightmare as a teenager. So I'm thinking, like, this is just God's retribution. This is like, you will see what your mother went through. And I still feel bad for my mom because I'm a brat complaining about the paint job she did out of the goodness of her heart. But anyway, moving on. One last thing. So, in the beginning of my pregnancy, I started craving like really spicy food and also like comfort food from like Haiti, like Haitian comfort food and spice. And then after a while, that kind of dwindled down, and I didn't really have any cravings after that. But then soon, around 17, 18 weeks, I realized like I really was eating a lot of potatoes. Like I really just wanted potatoes a lot. And it was actually funny because while we were driving south to Savannah from New York, we would stop periodically, obviously, to eat, have lunch or dinner, or whatever. And often, because it is road food, right? You're traveling, I would order something that with a side of French fries. And one thing I didn't know is that, I don't know, the further south you go, the less fries you get. Because we went into a Cracker Barrel, and I forget what I had. I think I'd ordered like a burger with fries, but the fries were like a child-sized portion. I was like, this is not gonna fill me up because I don't eat regular bread because I'm gluten free. So I picked the bread off. So by the time I picked the bread off and eat the baby like portion of fries, like, this is not gonna cut it. Mm-mm. And then I thought, all right, that's just, one instance. So like my friend and I ended up ordering some grits or something, which were, whatever. It's Cracker Barrel grits, whatever. It was okay. So I thought, all right, that's just one experience. Then we drive, I think, that night when we got to Richmond, Virginia, we were staying at the hotel. It was like one of the only restaurants, I think the only restaurant open was in the hotel. We went in to eat. I ordered steak, which they messed up. And then it came with fries. But again, the fries were like baby portioned. And I was like, in New York, you come to New York, you order fries, you can't even finish them. There's so much. But I think, that's one extreme where perhaps the portion is too big. But then the other extreme is like when you're driving south, you get like this little like handful of like cold fries. That was my experience. So I was really pissed. When you're pregnant, okay, so here's the thing I've noticed about being pregnant. Like pre-pregnancy, something like that happens, it rolls off your back, whatever, or you just say, can you add some fries to this or something? I'll pay extra. But like being pregnant, don't come between me and my food. Like when I have a taste for something and I really want something, it better come right. Like I actually had to return the steak because first of all, they cooked it, it was still bloody, and I didn't ask for it that way. I asked for medium well, it came back, it was bloody. So I had to send that back, and then the fries were like not good at all. So I was so pissed that day, like nothing was good. Everything I ordered was just so disappointing, and there's nothing worse than when you have a craving or you want something and it comes to you like the wrong way or it's not what you thought it would be. There's nothing more that pisses me off now. This is not how I was before, but now don't mess with me and my food. It better come right. It better come the way that I expect it to be. Cause yeah, I was pissed. So anyway, potatoes. It continued on, to different restaurants. Finally, there was one restaurant that my friend had gotten a recommendation to like go there, and it looks like a hole in the wall kind of restaurant, but it was like literally the best food. And the fry portion was actually normal and I was happy. So in Savannah, the fry portion was pretty good, but along the way coming down, quite disappointing, and angered me quite a bit. So potatoes for those couple of weeks, and even now that I'm 24 weeks, even now, like eggs and potatoes are my jam. Love me some eggs, love me some potatoes, sometimes have them together. Anyway, so that's it for me. It's been, almost 20 minutes of talking. So thanks for watching, and, thanks for being my therapist today. I don't know. I just pray for me that my daughter has, I don't know, is less bratty than I am. Yeah, and if you're new, welcome. Don't forget to leave me a comment. And if you have something that you'd like to share with me or ask, but you're uncomfortable doing it in the comment section, then I'll link my email down below. And as always, don't forget to also check out my Instagram because I tend to stay a little bit more active there. And until next time, I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Stepping out, it's Friday night. How I'm longing